I just feel like given this pandemic, we need fresh new thoughts and ideas. There are, all of this modular builds, bringing the
Yeah.
cost of construction down, green
Right.
tech. You have this pandemic with climate change. So now every real estate owner has to get to net zero, and what are the costs of that, what they have to do. I just feel like you are the perfect person to kind of bring these other kind of fresh ideas, fresh people to the issue at hand, which is involved in development, because we are going to be building these cities for, to last 50 or 100 years. But if we're doing it the same way all the time, there's going to be an issue there too. So
Yeah.
I guess that's just the final point I wanted to get your opinion on, is there's just so many ideas running around about modular, and also being fully net zero, and what that takes or what that means, but then also how you pencil both, and how you even get them fully entitled and approved with the city, if that makes any sense. Is just, you have to now juggle all of that with what you're talking about, which is really a development site is just an orchestra. I think you had mentioned it one of our meetings, that
Yeah.
you're the conductor. You just have so
Yeah.
many things going on, and it's a big problem. So what are your thoughts on that? Just final thoughts.
Well, I think first and foremost, technology is a driving factor
Yeah.
and by the way, my level of expertise is mostly large scale commercial projects
Right.
that have a heavy residential component to them.
Hmm.
So look, I've just been designing and working on houses, my entire career, literally my entire life.
Yeah.
Um, I was once working on a project and I went to meet with my kitchen consultant because we were finalizing all the cabinet designs, getting ready for the cabinet purchase.
Mm.
And I was in the showroom sitting opposite of a little old lady. She must have been like 65, 70 years old. And she looked over me. She's like, "Oh, you're so cute. Are you buying your first kitchen?" I'm like, "Lady, I'm buying 575 kitchens. This is not my first rodeo." You know, um, Technology is getting ingrained in what we do.
Yeah.
I think real estate and real estate developers and investors, we're very entrepreneurial. We love new ideas. I think a lot of it comes and works its way backwards from the management side.
Mm.
Um, I think that there are some things I agree with, some things I don't. It's a personal opinion. I don't feel so comfortable with people using their cell phones to open the front door to their apartment,
Mm.
because I know somebody could be in the apartment next door and can pirate that so easy. And the
Right.
next thing you know, they have everything, which I think my 20 and 20-year-old, 22-year-old children
Mm.
are kind of still naive. They think that, as long as it's in their phone, it's totally safe. And I'm like, you have no idea what someone can swipe up against you and steal
Right.
all your data. And you go home and log onto your computer, and all of a sudden your account's been drained.
Right.
You don't have any more money. So I'm still fearful of that. I like a fob key.
Mm.
If people want to be able to turn on their lights or their air conditioning because they're on the way home, that seems like a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. The
I
balance
also
of that convenience and security.
convenience, security, and taking care of our planet. And
Right.
that's if anything that we're doing, John, um, I am fearful for my children and my future grandchildren that
Right.
we are destroying this planet,
Right.
and not listening to what scientists say and not doing things that we should be doing. The fact that we have huge roofs and we should be doing solar, it seems like that should be a requirement.
Right.
We should be doing that with the fact that we do better insulation, that we do better fresh air, that
Right.
we are creating much better buildings. Sometimes they're almost too tight that we're
Mhm.
what we're building today. That's why we have such a large fresh air intake
Mm.
requirement.
Mm.
We are making more communal amenity spaces that are just outstanding,
Mm.
very well appointed. The residential industry follows the hotel industry
Right.
uh, primarily,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it all really also started during the recession when all these condos went to rentals,
Right.
and people were like, wow, I can have granite countertops and fancy schmancy plumbing fixtures. And there's also, rondos, which were rentals that went to condos. So,
Yes.
all those things are always moving in our industry. Modular construction. I worked on a huge project while I was at City View. We built the Union Flats in Union City on the east side of the bay.
Mhm.
We were very forward thinking in that. We unfortunately got caught with a general contractor who had done it. but
Mm.
his project manager never had. The
Uh,
subcontractors never had.
uh,
It's a full education all the way down to the guy, to the painter of
yeah,
what you're going to be dealing with. And
right,
as you said, it's bringing the jurisdiction along. They don't know what are we permitting if all these boxes show up and they stack like Legos,
right,
and then you got to stitch them together locally, but they're
right,
built out of state.
right.
And how does that work? And
How do you quality control that entire thing?
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that would be a whole nother I mean, the modular industry is a whole nother podcast after
Right.
living through it. And actually, I recently was working on a project for another family office down near San Diego,
Mm.
where we had a large amount of FAR, and we really thought we could build a large enough project where modular would be great.
Mm.
But unfortunately, some of the metal modular companies that are coming out, they're doing phenomenal work on 20 units.
Yeah.
It's still too expensive. There's no economy of scale you would think
Right.
you would get.
Right. For
So
200 plus.
yeah, we revert back to a model
Mm.
that's right now like this building we're going to be doing downtown. The project I worked on the Pearl on Wilshire Boulevard when I was
Yeah.
at City View,
Hmm.
346
Great
units,
project. Yeah.
major job,
Hmm.
huge job, major project.
Hmm.
All of that, all the walls were panelized.
Mm.
Everything was thought out so that a truck would pull up, and it wasn't that the unit was in a module, but
Mhm.
the walls were.
Ah,
So they could very quickly boom, 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 boom,
yeah.
and it has to be very thought out. We know exactly where the ducts are running. We know exactly where the sprinklers are running. All those things are so. But meanwhile, you're cutting. You're getting much higher yield out of your material. You're being much more sensitive on the environment. You're not generating a lot of equipment and wasting gas and energy on the site. I love the ideas. One of my buddies, for decades now, has been working for Skanska.
Mm. Yeah.
And that was one of the first companies that came out in their office buildings, platinum buildings,
Yeah.
with the dashboards in the lobby so their tenants could actually see what they were doing on electrical consumption, heating, cooling, how all those things pan out. So I'm always, look, I love learning something new every day and implementing new things. Younger people are pushing us in new directions. I had a buddy of mine in Chicago. He started a whole new company that just, when you're in your elevator, what could you be learning and doing about your building that then is, affecting? I think you'd like to think people would say, yeah, I'd rather live in a platinum building
Mhm.
than just a LEED certified building.
Right.
But unfortunately, it comes back to penciling out deals. And if all those improvements, because they do cost money, a
Right.
lot of things have become mainstream. Basically, getting in Los Angeles, if you get through Cal Green and Title 24 and you meet code,
Right.
you are effectively a LEED certified building at its lowest level. If
Mm.
you want to then get to silver, gold, or platinum, you're
Mhm.
going to have to do more. It may cost you.
It
Some
will.
people say, hey, I'm going to do these things,
Mhm.
especially in office buildings where it really started taking a foothold much, decades ago.
Right.
I'm going to get more rent.
Right.
I'm going to have more fresh air intake. I'm going to have bigger windows. I'm going to have white noise in the background. All these things that everybody started to really love about their work environment as we got into the open office floor plans, et cetera.
Mhm.
Now, I think, unfortunately, you walk through these open offices without, cubes, and everyone's got their earbuds in because they've got no privacy anymore. So it's it's trade-offs.
Right.
How far can the technology push? What can we be doing? How can we be buying better products? How can we be making a better, I think when we sit down with designers, and they're always on the forefront of this too, they're trying to swallow and digest everything they can, what's new in the market. You've got to try to figure out what is it really going to mean to the end user, and what does it mean to the pro forma? Because we may want to do all these things, but if it doesn't pencil, there's no investor.
Right.
And if there's
Doesn't
no
go
investor,
anywhere. Yeah.
if there's no investor,
Yeah.
you're dead.
Dead in
And
the
right
water.
now, things are awfully tough to get to pencil.
Right.
They're really,
Even
really
as
difficult.
is, right? Without implementing any of that too. So
Yeah, I mean, we've got low interest rates that the Fed's going to obviously hold for some time.
yeah.
Sellers still have very high aspirations of what they think.
Right.
COVID has affected where rents are today.
Right.
In an just underwriting, getting the appraisal for my project downtown, my client had, a tough time with his equity partner and the appraisal,
Mm.
because they're looking at when will rents be where they were, and how long will it take to come back, and then how will it escalate from there forward. So we had to, how many pro formas have a recession in them? We don't. We don't think that way. We
Or
think
pandemic. Yeah, exactly.
or who the heck ever would have thought? You
Right.
know, nobody has a crystal ball, but
Right.
that's exactly what development is. We crystal ball
Yeah.
in one of the greatest, riskiest, besides I think gold and oil exploration, land speculation and development is still the third riskiest, investment vehicle you
Agreed.
can do. So would you actually lose somebody's money? No.
Mm.
Potentially, no. You could always sell the building, pay
Right.
off the lender,
Recoup
get out.
whatever you
You
can.
could
Yeah.
maybe get out whole,
Sure.
but investors aren't in a project to get their money back. They're in the
Not
project
at
to get
all.
twice their money back.
Right. Right.
So if a building has solar power, if a building has much larger windows, if a building has shrouds around the windows that block the most intense sun during the day, well, that might help the end tenant lower their electric bill.
Right.
But then again, that shroud out of metal that has to be that might cost $100 per shroud, and then it might be $300 by the time it's installed, caulked, waterproof, etc.
Yeah.
I'm throwing out an example. So when you do that $300 trick, 1,500 times, you're looking at real numbers.
Right.
And that may be, it's like, everybody knows the term value engineering, and it shouldn't be. I think too often it's derogatory.
Mm.
It just means we're trying to do something better.
Right.
And, but sometimes it's all the gingerbread that is the first thing that goes. And, so I think that innovations are phenomenal. It's an evolutionary thing. Property management companies are always looking for sophisticated ways to better manage a building,
Yeah.
better produce a better product for the tenant. And it's a tenant retention business. And that's also where I start with my clients is like, look, you're a family office. You want to own this project for 3 decades,
Yeah.
not for 30 minutes like a merchant builder.
Right.
So you've got
Yeah.
you've got a completely different evaluation. You may
Right.
pay for that sunshade device willingly because that means someone enjoys their building. You may pay for a higher STC rating, a sound transmission coefficient, the greater inability to hear your neighbor vertically or horizontally. A family office may want a higher STC rating because they want that tenant to be like, God, I love this place. It's quiet at night. My electric bill is low. I've got these beautiful amenities. I'm in a downtown location, yet I live in an oasis. I walk to my office. It's all good. Or if someone's got a suburban project, do I still have enough parking? I'm
Right.
looking at
Right.
a project in the valley. Everyone's like, ooh, parking, don't have too much parking. We have these new electronic. I've been looking at stacked and electronic parking and, Boomerang and City Lift and all these systems that I think are really
Park
cool.
Plus. Yeah.
But in most cases, you still have to build the garage and
Exactly.
then put in the system.
And then
So
the
it's
system comes where? Where does it get built? Does it get
yeah,
assembled here? Does it get assembled overseas? Who's
yes.
maintaining it? Is there a 24-hour mechanic service if it breaks down? There's so many unknowns there.
You just took all the words right out of my mouth. So while the theory is with electronic parking,
Yeah.
we can jam more tuna fish cans on the shelf,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you can park the cars literally an inch apart from
Right.
their rear view mirrors
Right.
because it's done automatically.
Right.
It's really cool. The robots do it. And maybe you can get to your bottom of your hole and back up out of your podium faster, and it cuts time down, which
Right.
less time, less money.
Right.
The delta time between starting and the investor going in day one, first dollar in, first dollar out. If you can shorten that horizon, you shorten the IRR, theoretically everything seems better. But that system costs more money. It still costs
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
also everybody looks at the building like, you mean a robot gets my car? Well, what if I've got an important meeting with my boss and the power goes out?
Exactly.
What do we do? So all these new things that we are talking about in the market all the time, these wonderful creative ideas,
Yeah.
they slowly get implemented.
Agreed.
Elevators,
Yeah.
sprinklers, things that have changed our building environment.
Right.
Triple pane windows, so you literally build buildings next to train tracks.
Right.
Things that handle sound, air, whatever.
Mhm.
We still want to produce a high quality product. Whether you're building affordable housing,
Mm.
it's inexpensive. It's not cheap. It's
Right.
inexpensive.
Right.
Or whether you're building high end luxury stuff, where people are spending, $1,000 a square foot on construction, whatever they're doing,
Yeah.
believing that market in this market, obviously in LA, that market exists, you know. Um,
Agreed.
they're trying to just build the best product they can,
Right.
but things that you can take down to get, you know, you can't take some unusual thing in this city. You need to have an approved LARR number. You can't use a system
Yeah.
that the building and life safety department is unfamiliar with or can't approve.
Right.
So those are, you know, like I said, makes the industry great. It gives such a great uh, wide funnel of opportunity to those younger than me, to come up with new ideas, creative ideas, technology ideas, etc. Um, that's what I love about LinkedIn. I always see some new technology where they're putting a whole bunch of stones and bricks into a machine and it lays a perfect pattern, or things that I've seen with robots or the different cranes that are there's crazy stuff going on right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Absolutely. I'm excited, but you're
yeah,
right. The
totally.
implementation, it's going to take time, but at
Yeah.
least we're headed toward the right direction there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and also those things do, I think, they get incorporated into design.
right.
It might be interiors, it might be, you know, our thoughts on how people like to mingle,
Hmm.
how they interact.
Hmm.
Do they want to interact? How much
Hmm.
privacy do they want? Lack of privacy, more privacy.
Right.
Um, you know, some people, I've seen some tenants who don't want any blinds on their windows at all. Some people never open their blinds ever. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, we'll see how it goes. Meanwhile, the industry is still pretty much working in its
That's great
way,
to hear. Yeah.
and everybody is reacting to this. This is going to pass. Look,
Yeah.
I'm almost 55. I've lived through some things. Um, you know, this is basically like the recession. We got through the recession,
Right.
and as soon as the
And we
scientists,
rebounded. Yeah. Like
oh, I
even
believe that.
pre-levels, and
Oh,
we even went above that. So,
everybody is so. I've actually told my children that, you know, coming out of school and to eventually graduate,
yeah.
you know, somebody who might be having a very difficult time. I have my two children, I have two stepchildren.
Mm,
They're all in that jammed in that age from 20 to 24.
mm,
Lost their graduations, you
mm.
know,
Of
couldn't
course.
find a
Yeah.
job that easy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Just stay calm,
Hmm.
stay level-headed, stay
Mm,
cool,
mm.
because when this market goes, we were on a hell of a run for
Right.
10, 12 years,
Oh,
depending
yeah.
on when you really start measuring our
Mm,
bull market.
yeah.
So we're here, we have now this massive, you know, verge of a depression, with the number of people out of work and those industries that are really going to struggle.
Went
But
bankrupt. Yeah.
once things do come back,
Mhm.
I hope we've got a decade plus of opportunity and everybody gets back to work, and I still believe this country needs a program that's going to improve our streets and bridges and technologies and things that I see just delaminating across our country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Just
high
infrastructure. Yeah.
high speed
Totally.
rail infrastructure, better phone lines, better solar systems,
Yeah.
wind.
Agreed.
We have so many things to do in our country for our future generations. I can't wait for tomorrow. I can't wait, and I think it's going to
Same.
be beautiful and bright.